Happy to be with you today and very proud to present the case. It's a case study on moderation. I am Elena Gruntova, CPO of AliExpress CIS, and we're presenting a case study of item moderation for multinational e-commerce, which is AliExpress CIS. And please let me show in more detail what I'm talking about. So what is AliExpress CIS? It's actually a unique thing because AliExpress CIS is a joint venture. And we have Alibaba as our investor, and we also have local investors. AliExpress says sell items from Chinese sellers to people in 10 countries in CIS, such as Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, and so on and so forth. So you can easily guess we're big in buyers, right? We are also quite big in sellers. We have more than 400,000 sellers on the platform. And you can imagine that this amount of Chinese sellers do have a huge lot of items to sell. So we're really, really huge in items. We have 200 million items in our product service, which makes up for more than 3 billion SKUs. That's a big amount of data. So when the challenge for data moderation arose for this amount of items, we definitely knew that we needed a solution that will be highly scalable and very effective. Okay, so why does the challenge for moderation arises at all? First type of reasons is always local regulation reasons. We work for 10 countries. You can easily guess that they all have different local restrictions and law regulations on what can be sold in the country and what can't, right? Moreover, this field of legal regulation is not a stable one. There are always changes, new laws, things that come in and come out. And so we have to keep up the pace to stay in current, right, in these fields. On the other hand, we do have Chinese sellers. They do their job very well. They sell items. And I assure you, they know nothing about legislation in our 10 CIS countries, as you can easily guess. And we do not want to burden them with that knowledge. That's why the moderation task is the task for the platform to do and to accomplish. Another type of reasons, which comes up as a question for moderation and as a matter for moderation, are cultural differences reasons. And that's a very sensible and quite intriguing domain, which we would discuss a bit later in my presentation. We had to build our moderation process from scratch. Alibaba does have a moderation process, no doubt, but what they do for moderation is global moderation. They just regulate by Chinese law, and they don't go into those niceties about all other details of regulation and restriction. We had to go from global to local. So we had to build up this process from scratch, and we started definitely with shaping what we want as a product from our moderation and which types of items should be moderated and which product consequences we should have for these types of items. So at the same time, we aimed to keep it simple, to keep it coherent, right? So that's the result with which we came up after this process. And let me walk you through our results in a nutshell. Basically, we classify everything in moderation into 5 main classes. We get the class that is okay. It means that this product can be shown everywhere without any restrictions, just is okay to be sold and okay to be shown to everyone. Second class is the most intriguing one. It's restricted. And let me skip it for the moment. I'll go to this third class, which is adult. and I hope everyone here understands what stands behind this notion. Everything that will limit the children to, but which is okay for adults. We just check the age at the entrance for these items, and that's okay. Prohibited. Also a big class of items. Actually, that's the main target of the moderation. The items that should not be sold, so they cannot be shown on the platform for different reasons. And we have many, many different classes and reasons why our items might fall into this class. The last one. I hope someone is worrying here about the fifth class, because it's unheard of to try to understand fraud through evaluation and moderation processes. And guys, you're absolutely right if you're worrying about it. It's not how we determine fraud on the platform, definitely. We put up this class, actually the last one of all our types, for the simplicity for our annotators. They just came through such items, and when they met them, and they had these 4 classes, they just didn't know where to put it, right? And we didn't wait from them to really understand if it's fraud or not. So should it be prohibited or not? So just for the simplicity of annotation, we put this 5th class to make the process smoother and easier. Let me show you some examples. These all are real AliExpress products which have been sold on AliExpress. Believe me, this is an okay product, right? A very nice kid's toy, things we adore to sell to people. Second picture is also a toy, by the way, but not that nice, right? That's what we restrict on the platform. When I say that we restrict it on the platform, it means that this item can be shown and can be bought if you go by direct link, or if you go by direct, very specific query. But we do not take such items and we filtrate them out when we build general recommendations, or if the person never, ever, ever visited something like this and never clicked it. So these items are of restricted demonstration of the platform. I'll explain later why. The last one, also a restricted class. It's actually in Russian, but I put a small translation near the t-shirt. Next slide. Clear, right? It's prohibited, hemp oil, because it's an illegal drug, if someone asks. The last item, that's definitely fraud, and that's tricky. What you see here is Spotify subscription, and you definitely can buy Spotify subscription. Why not? The key thing is that the seller is not Spotify. And if you look into the description in more detail, you would see that it's just illegal intellectual property resold here. So this is direct fraud, so it should be prohibited. In a nutshell, for the classification. Yep. Overall, prohibited items for sales, just some more examples for you, and everything that's prohibited. What's specific about all these class? Because of many laws and many restrictions and many documents explaining all this class is more or less formalized, right? You can put strict rules, you can add details to your annotators so they can easily understand if it's prohibited or not, if it's legal or not. Okay, not that easily. Gray zone always exists, but still it's doable. Whereas another class that we're talking about is not as easy. Right. We're speaking about cultural differences. Culture is a semiotic system, like language. When you have a text in one language, you have to translate it to another. Same goes with culture and all attributes of culture, such as symbols, such as slogans, such as gesture, behavior, traditions, and everything. And when you meet an international e-commerce like AliExpress, where sellers belong to one culture, but actually buyers belong to different other cultures, and many of them, you meet the need to translate the culture and sometimes to restrict. Let me show you some examples. Our main topics where we met with that cultural differences are here on the slide. Naturally, it's body matters. For Chinese, when they sell something that's related to medicine, it's unheard of not to show you the results before and after. Chinese sellers are absolutely sure that if they show you the results and the initial stage, they create trust. Buyers from CIS, when they see it, first thing they feel is disgust. They would not go into the details of what's sold. They would just close your app and would try to never return again, whatever you are selling. Same to other body matters, personal hygiene. Chinese are very direct and very sincere in what they show, right? That's not so for the usual culture in our CIS countries. Our buyers would never, ever, ever buy things with such advertisements. More examples to go. Funny jokes, that's easy, right? They also don't see anything like insulting or disgusting and showing this directly to your face when you go to your commerce site. Just imagine yourself going to, I don't know, your regular e-commerce, your favorite one. And the first thing you see here is one of these. What would you think about the platform? Would you return to it? Last but not least, funny story about symbols, which definitely need translations, right? For Chinese, they're just some popular pictures, whatever. And for some people in CIS, they're insulting and disgusting and inappropriate. The last case, I believe, is the most interesting. The items, we get so many complaints about fraud because what we sell here, do you get it? We sell money, right? We sell money made from gold plate or made from silver plate or from some other material. Looks at least crazy, right? Actually, it's not absolutely crazy to Chinese sellers. They have one of the biggest Chinese e-commerce, which called Taobao, also, by the way, owned by Alibaba. And this fake money is in top 10 popular items on Taobao. You guess why? Because Chinese do use them in their ceremonies for their dead, for the memory days. They burn fake money in the memory of their dead. And that's a very, very respectful tradition, quite regular. So everyone buys it. And no Chinese seller would understand why this very popular item is sold so bad in CIS countries. The platform should be wrong. That's what we get here. So much for cultural differences. And in a nutshell, that's what we restrict on our platform. Yeah, these are our rules. Disgusting, insulting, obscene, and so on and so forth. What's tricky about this class, if we compare it with the previous one about prohibited items? If prohibited might be formalized, and you can explain to people and give the instruction what's prohibited and what's not, and more or less get consistent results. How are you going to explain to people what's disgusting? Or if it's insulting or not? Actually, all the mass media discusses these problems, right? And we hear more than millions of opinions about each point, if it's disgusting or insulting. And here we found out a way out with the help of crowdsource and approach to crowdsource through Toloka, which I would explain. That's just to give you the impression of how much actually items are get under moderation. What's funny here is that definitely when our marketing specialists choose items, their results are the best. Nearly no items that should not be publicized or should be restricted, right? But if you see at what actually people search for and get in our results, you see that the results are lowest, the last column. Or if you see what they buy, they definitely do buy prohibited items because they don't have so much ways to get it. And that's free for sale right here before your eyes, right? That's not a good thing, actually. Some of these people do actually go to prison after they do their payment. And that's not a good way. We should prevent it. That's why we should moderate it. How we find these items? This is how. Okay, some more comments. I got you. Actually, we do have several stages in this process. We do acquire a daily set of items for moderations through very different sources. We have different reasons for which we might think the item to be needed in this day set. Our goal here is actually to cover all our product service. You remember it's 200 million, right? You all are now thinking I'm crazy, right? You're right, I'm crazy. The key thing here was to limit ourselves, definitely, not by the items that we have, but by the items that we really do show to people, yeah, by impressions. So if we do show these items often enough, then it would go to our process of moderation. If that's an item for which no one or nearly no one searches or goes by the link or through any other way, then we can leave it for later. And as you understand, it helps us diminish the overall set of what we actually do need to moderate 10 and 20 and 100 times, right? And that's much more sizable quantity. After we gather our queries, after we gather our items for daily set moderation, it goes to ML process. We get reviewed raw data. It goes to our ML model, and we get the verdict of our ML model. The verdict goes in two ways. First of all, the model decides true or false, gives us the classification, right? And it's okay class or any other class. That's the first thing. But also the model at the same time provides the probability threshold, which means whether the system, the algorithm is sure or not about the answer. That's the key point. So we take where the system is sure and put it directly to our database and down the whole process to our product service and to our punishment base. And we take the items where the system is not sure at all. And what we do with them? Right, we put them to Toloka for crowdsource, asking people in cases where machine can't give us an exact answer. We put them to Toloka, we get the verdicts from Toloka, and also after these verdicts, these items go to database. You see, right, down there. But you see also another arrow. We use them twice. We don't only put them to Toloka, we also put them into the learning set for our ML model, so that next time our model would perform better and threshold would be higher, and we optimize and automatize more share of items that we have to moderate. In more detail about the Toloka process. Our verdict manager, probability above threshold okay, probability above threshold not okay, goes to database. Gray zone, that's always the most interesting point, right? We take up this gray zone and it goes to items for crowdsource, to Toloka. In Toloka, the process is basically the process in Toloka basically consists of three parts. First of all, we gather our annotators. We do train them in Toloka, and after this training, they pass an exam. Those who do pass get the real production tasks. These are people who have learned our rules and who have learned the point of view which we as products want to get as a result, right? When they get to production tasks, they can meet tasks of first level or tasks of second level. All items from this gray zone actually go first to these tasks of level 1. 3 people see each item independently, and all three people give us their verdicts. So we get 3 verdicts. If we get some consistency, that is majority vote, 3 out of 3 or 2 out of 3 told us the same, Then we think that we know about this item. It directly goes to the aggregation results and all aggregation results, and they go to our database. If these people give us different results, and you remember we have 5 classes, right? That's why it's quite easy to get not consistent answers. These items go to the second task levels, where we already take the majority out of 7. The structure of the task itself is also not that simple. It's not that we only take the data that we need and just put them into task. Yes, we do take these gray zone items, but we also add golden set items here. What is golden set items? These are the items that we're sure of absolutely. Sorry about that. Golden set items are the items that we already know the answer to. And we check all the time the precision with which we do get the answers from our overall of our process. That's why even when we go for majority vote, if some people who give us answers are not precise enough, we can dynamically add people to get more consistent and more expertise majority vote. That's how this process works. Just to show you how we gather our daily sets, there are actually 3 different sources of main items that go through our moderation process. Product priorities, also analytical inputs, and also inputs with thresholds, right? And you see there the screenshot from Toloka, how all these daily sets are in process of moderation through crowdsource. That's how our task looks in Toloka. We have a link to our item, and you have to choose between the verdicts. You just click on it. Overall results. We started our process in June last year. And now we have grown up and scaled this process to the level that you can see here on the slide. It took us 6 months and a team of 5 people, no more. And Toloka people, of course, right? As a result, what I wanted to cite here as the main thing probably is that moderation, to our understanding and to the process which we've built, is not just a simple process of human annotation, or even a more simple process of ML. The effective and scalable way, which we do like, and which we have built from scratch, is a complex of general classification model and human evaluation. And actually, these 2 parts do help each other. Using effective and scalable crowdsource allows us to estimate such tricky things as insulting and disgusting, as we've seen with you together before, right? Which cannot be formalized. Getting this knowledge and getting these examples helps us teach ML to also start understanding these things, right? At least to try and differ between these things. And what's even important, we use these same annotations to improve our model, to optimize, to automate, and to make the overall process cheaper. As you've seen on the previous slide, we started spending like 2 times less for each item to be moderated through 6 months. Let me say that I'm really proud of my team here and of this process, because it was built from scratch, and that's not the process that Alibaba have been building for 10 years, but a team of 5 people, 6 months, and all AliExpress. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Am I right in my understanding that you do not, or maybe I didn't hear, how do you take into account feedback from users? Maybe this model makes mistakes.
Thank you so much. It's true, I didn't speak about it, but it was somewhere on the slide, actually, if we might return. Absolutely, yeah. We definitely have a feedback loop here. You see, right, we have users' feedback, so that also goes through back office process and just goes directly into the database. Just this share and the percentage of what we get through this feedback loop is uncomparable to the sizes that we get through the main process. That's why I didn't focus on it, but thank you very much for your question.
Hi, do you have model for each language, for each state, country?
Yeah, actually our ML model does have a lot of features, like more than 400 features. The text features are a sizable number of them, but not all. We do the seeds for each country and each language. And actually what the model does is looking for similarities. In this case, the absolutely accurate translation itself is not that important. The key thing is that the main signal is kept. And even if the text features are not that high, what we can do, the model still runs on the other features, such as customer behavior, such as image similarity. And if at least in one language, we do take the text feature is high, the model takes into account it also for other countries, though with lower scores.
I see a raised hand. Let me join you.
Just out of curiosity, you mentioned the crowdsourcing. If you are exposing the customers to disgusting and prohibited, it's prohibited. So how do you expose them to those pictures or information?
Question. How do you do that?
Thank you very much for your question. When I speak about the crowdsource, I definitely don't mean my customers work for me. They may through users' feedback if they want. But when I speak about the crowdsource, I'm mostly meaning annotators from Toloka who just sign an agreement and who agree to see sometimes probably inappropriate or disgusting features, but that's the job.
Give me a sec. Okay, one more question, and we also have a few questions in the Zoom, so we want to ask them. I think you were the first, so please.
In AliExpress, each page has a context, means the title, the image, and the description might be not violative or not or appropriate by itself. So how do you label the whole item in Toloka?
I'm returning to the screen to make it seen. We do not divide the item. We just direct the annotator to the whole page as the user would see it and directly ask if, by annotator's opinion, it belongs to one of the classes or not. For example, one word in description on the third screen might be offensive, but not on the first two. I bet majority of annotators would miss it or would not answer it's offensive. Why is it okay for us? Because the buyers would feel the same. Like most buyers would think it's completely okay and completely appropriate. If the title or the main page is disgusting or offensive, be sure buyers would feel the same. That's why it's completely okay for us just to go to the direct page overall.
Yeah. Now I have to ask a few questions from the Zoom chat to involve people into conversation online. And if you have more questions that we did not have much time to answer, we will have the break, and also we'll have the panel discussion in which we can be flexible in terms of what we discuss. So I have two questions from the Zoom chat. The first one is, what is salary rate for good enough assessors? You can set it up. You should find a balance between quality and price. So what is it?
Absolutely. All crowdsource work, and actually all e-commerce work, and actually every platform's work is always about looking for a balance. And what we do look for a balance. We like make metrics. We look for our normal distribution, right? And we'll look for optimization point. No secrets here.
Thank you. And the second question is, do you use training to really train or to filter the annotators?
You would be surprised. We use training for training, and we use exam for filtering. I mean, even if people don't pass the exam, they might go back in some time and train again. And that's actually the same with all our exams, right, in our life. You can always train better and pass your exam, even if it was difficult at the first step.
Yeah, it sounds really like a two-factor authentication, but generally when we teach crowdsourcing, we say that you have to provide, if on a large project, a means for rehabilitation of those who made a mistake. So it's an essential part for something big. And we have, well, we shifted our start a bit and now we are out of time. Thank you very much, Elena. It was a great conversation. It was amazing. Thank you.